Ryan brought up the Super Bowl and how we did our annual Super Bowl show, and what we pointed out were some interesting and intricate things about how the Super Bowl is a metaphor for warfare. And, of course, we talked about the colors, yellow and blue being the jersey colors of the Rams. And after further inspection, we found that even Snoop Dogg was wearing yellow and blue. I want to read you something. It's the what they call the synopsis of a broadcast we did on the 14th, which was right after the Super Bowl, Valentine's Day, so February 14, 2022. This is what we said the show was about. It says, Super Bowl 56 sent us the message that in the real world, politics are the new religion, and war is how we spread the gospel, by constructing a direct analogy between combat on the gridiron and combat on the battlefield. While only showing the details of the former, the media's presentation of American football encourages spectators to ignore the horrific reality of a possible world war by making it a sexy bread and circus escape. So what is the underlying purpose of the Super Bowl? To flaunt greed and power and send a clear message that those in power think you're stupid and will fall for anything. The propaganda in the commercials and halftime show were entrenched in stories of scarcity and the new powerful technology we can use to escape it. And that is what we talked about back on the 14th of February, saying that the Super Bowl was nothing more than a presentation of breads and circuses and a metaphor for war. And now we look back, we realize that we were correct in this. Ryan Gable and I giving our analysis of Twilight language and how the mesmerism of symbol and empowered sigils and other rituals are the way we become mesmerized into falling for things that we wouldn't normally fall for. When we look at the recent, I guess you could call it alarm that the media is having with regard to the symbol Z on the tanks and the other military equipment from Russia, the media is now calling it the Russian version of the swastika. Now, I was kind of joking about somebody wanting to remove the Z from the alphabet with Ryan, and even Wes played a trick on his brother Zach and said that he's going to have to spell his name a different way now that the Z is, the Z's been removed from the alphabet. But yeah, it's true though. I mean, worse things have happened, crazier things have happened. I mean, I know no one's asking to remove the Z from the alphabet yet, but there's always time. And to be honest, it's quite peculiar that the symbol is being used on military vehicles since the letter Z does not exist in the Russian alphabet. It's not a Russian symbol. It's Roman. It's the symbol we use for the letter Z. Z is what it is. So this is where we start looking at the occult figures and how the occult figures in and how groups become surveilled or otherwise mesmerized by certain symbolism. I mean, a lot could be said about how this was done back in the days of the Third Reich. When you look at Nazi policies and how you see a more complex nature to propaganda. Reflecting on the 8 years of the Third Reich, the Nazis' chief ideologist Alfred Rosenberg wrote this. He said, quote, "The success of National Socialism, the unique appearance of the Führer, has no precedent in German history. The consequence is that many Germans, due to their proclivity for the romantic and the mystical, indeed the occult, came to understand the success of the National Socialism in this fashion. For Germans, Rosenberg suggested, are esoteric thinking and were perfectly compatible with what they were seeing. Symbols and colors, along with pageantry, is what won the hearts and minds of the Germans, and all of these techniques are being used now in the war we are fighting at this moment. Now, with the blue and the yellow from the internet to the State of the Union address, now the battlefields, and now we see the letter Z. And as Ryan pointed out, we looked at the trident on the flag of Ukraine, and then, of course, we look at the Z, which means Zeus, or the idea of Zeus. There's also a lot of cultists are saying that the Z is similar to the idea of zigzag course, which, of course, is something that was seen as a strategy by the Nazis. And the Reich especially was known for its ambiguities and duplicities, and now we see Russian aggression in the same light. We say, well, it's hypocrisy, it's ambiguous, it's duplicitous. I mean, what started out as a curious marking, the letter Z, slapped in white paint on Russian tanks and trucks, has now become a symbol of Vladimir Putin's own version of World War Zero, the war in the year zero. And that's what I find interesting, is because we had a listener earlier tell me that she believed that year zero, defined, is the beginning of revolutionary change and the beginning of any new system or regime. And that is what her definition of it was. And I thought it was amazing, because here we are talking about the year zero. We're talking about reset. We're talking about change. And now the letter Z has everybody vexed. I mean, the Z has become akin to the new swastika or symbol of hatred. It's showing up everywhere. Supporters of Russian invasion, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, they're wearing the letter Z on their clothes. Z is a letter that features in the Latin, but not in the Cyrillic. It first appeared several weeks ago on military vehicles that were coming into Ukraine, and people were saying, what is this doing on a tank where they don't have the letter Z in their alphabet? Well, initially it was thought that the Z symbol was in fact the number 2, representing the 22nd of February, or 2/22/22. That was the day that Russia ratified on the agreement of friendship and cooperation and mutual assistance with the breakaway regions in eastern Ukraine. That was Donetsk and Luhansk. Well, since Russia started its invasion of Ukraine, the letter Z that's on its advancing armored vehicles has caught on in the public consciousness, and it's also being spread on social media. There's no consensus at all on what the letter actually signifies. It has become synonymous with the Russian army, though, and there are many theories that are brewing around why, with many saying the Z stands for the first letter of the Russian word Zapad, which means west. Well, some have said that it was the first letter in the surname of Ukraine's leader, Volodymyr Zelensky. But again, this is the mainstream media sounding stupid, because there is no letter Z in Cyrillic. So how can it be Zapad? They have to have another symbol to spell Zapad, not the letter Z. Okay? It doesn't make any sense. And they're trying to make sense of it, and they're not doing well, because there are other things that they could be using the Z for that certainly send a bigger message and a more occult message to those who are fighting.